the Southern Ohio Farm Show. This is Gigi Neal of OSU Extension in Claremont County, Agricultural and Natural Resources Educator.
I'm James Morris, the Agricultural and Natural Resources and Community Development Educator for the Ohio State University Extension in Brown County.
And I'm Brooke Beam, the Ohio State University Extension Educator for Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Community Development in Highland County. And we will be your hosts for the Southern Ohio Farm Show.
Welcome to our farm, here on the rolling hills of the Ohio River Valley, where our animals are lovingly raised and scientifically cared for. I am Sarah Eisen, and along with my husband Josh and our beautiful children, Thea and Declan, we raise high-quality Angus.
We implement sustainable business and environmental practices to conserve the quality of our land and protect the quality and health of our cattle.
To accomplish this, we uphold a high integrity and transparency into our operation and the beef products we produce. As a husband and wife team, we have our PhDs in animal science, focusing on pre-harvest food safety and epidemiology, demonstrating our commitment to food safety and providing you the highest quality beef. We do this by combining the highest quality Angus genetics along with favorable soil health bacteria, which provide a more nutrient-dense food source for our cattle, along with feed formulation. This includes probiotics, organic trace minerals, and vitamins at the optimal level. This stimulates gut health to produce the highest quality and consistent beef with the best flavor, texture, and tenderness. My commitment to food safety does not end when I leave these ranch gates. I share my knowledge and provide guidance to address challenges along the farm-to-table continuum through the application of new science and biotechnologies. We continually advance our agricultural practices to ensure optimal health and well-being for our animals and to conserve the land for future generations. Thank you for choosing us to be your ranchers.
Hi. Today, I'd like to introduce you to black walnut, or Juglans nigra. Black walnut is arguably the most valuable hardwood tree species in eastern North America for the lumber that it produces. It produces a really dark colored, almost ebony colored wood in the heartwood. The sapwood's lighter in color, but the heartwood is absolutely beautiful. It makes fine furniture and cabinetry, and actually historically it's been used for gun stocks. To identify black walnut, you'll notice it has compound leaves that alternate on the twig. These compound leaves can be anywhere from about 12 inches in length up to about 24 inches in length, and they can have anywhere from about 10 or 12 leaflets up to about 24 leaflets. Notice I mentioned even numbers when I was talking about leaflets. Normally those numbers are odd. The reason for that is the terminal bud is usually missing on black walnut, and that's also a good ID characteristic to separate it from other compound leaf trees and even its cousin, the white walnut or butternut. These leaflets are opposite from one another, so they're somewhat paired normally, but again, the leaves alternate on the twig. If you crush these leaves, they've also got a really strong odor that's really unique for walnut. Another great identifying characteristic is a relatively large tan-colored terminal bud that has a few bud scales, and it's somewhat fuzzy. It'll also have these rounded lateral or side buds just above where the leaf attaches. And if we're to remove one of the leaves, you're going to see a leaf scar. Again, the leaf scar is the mirror image of the base of the leaf, and it has 3 distinct groupings of bundle scars and 3 lobes, and it almost resembles that the face of a monkey. So that makes it a great ID characteristic, a fun one to remember. Black walnut by, again, the face of a monkey. Twigs are pretty stout. Think about something that can have up to 24-inch leaves. It's going to take a fairly stout twig to support those leaves and the fruit that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. If you cut into the twig, you're going to see these open chambered. It's got what we call a chambered pith, which is unique to walnut and only a few other species. The black walnut pith is actually lighter in color. Its cousin, the butternut pith, is darker in color, but you'll see these big open voids or chambers in the pith of the twig. The fruit of black walnut can be relatively large, more than 2 inches in diameter when it's in the husk. This husk is a lime green color, and they're maturing right now. We're in about mid to late September. It's the 22nd of September today. You can see the squirrels are working these things pretty heavily. It's a lime green husk that completely encircles the nut. There are no splits or sutures in this husk like its cousins, the hickories, which have multiple sutures that split. This husk just kind of disintegrates over time, or like these are actually laying in my driveway and they've been run over by a car. And actually, believe it or not, that doesn't really hurt the nut that's inside. The nut that's inside is a very rough, ridged nut. It's dark in color once the husk falls off, almost black. And if you crack it open, it produces this wonderful nut that's great for human health. It's actually very heart healthy. Not many species of wildlife can actually benefit from walnut fruit because its nut is so hard that it takes something like a squirrel with those big teeth or other rodents to be able to break through that nut to be able to get to the fruit that's inside, the meat that's inside. I've also heard that turkeys can actually eat the whole nut and grind it up with their gizzard and get the nut from that as well, but it looks like it'd be hard to get that down the throat. Another great ID characteristic is this bark. It's usually dark colored. It's somewhat interlacing, and if you were to break just a little bit of the bark off, you're going to see a chocolate brown color just under the bark surface. Black walnut typically grows in floodplains, and it does quite well anywhere where you've got a deep, well-drained soil, like a silt loam, and that's where you're going to get that big taproot development where this tree can actually produce or grow at its best. It likes or grows best in fairly light conditions. It doesn't grow in total shade, but if it's growing with enough competition, it does a really nice job of pruning itself up and losing these lower limbs, making nice clear lumber down there. And again, we mentioned how valuable the lumber is of black walnut. Historically, the lumber of black walnut is higher price per board foot than almost any species we can find out there. And if you're fortunate enough to grow walnut trees that produce veneer, the value can be very, very high. Again, this is black walnut, Juglans nigra. And again, take the time to spend at least part of your day in the woods.
Welcome to Farm Science Review. My name is Justin Heimsoth. I'm the Product and Systems Specialist for hay and forage equipment, supporting dealers in the Midwest for John Deere. Today I'm here to talk to you about our 0 Series mower conditioners, our newest lineup of mower conditioners offered by John Deere. I want to first start off by talking about our naming and numbering system. As you look at the chart, you'll notice that the new models of 0 Series start with a letter, either designating an S for side pull or a C for center pivot. The next two numbers indicate the width in meters, and the last number indicates the series of the mower conditioner. In our case today, the 0 series. You'll also notice on the chart that we've added a new size to the mix. The C500 comes in at an overall width of 5 meters, giving us 10% more productivity compared to our previous largest model, the 956. This is important because this offers producers more productivity to get the job done faster. The C500 was built off of our successful 500R platform. You may be familiar with that on our self-propelled wind mower units. It uses the same overshot cross auger system to feed crop from the sides to the middle of the machine for conditioning. Now let's talk about the model that we have here today, the C400. The C400, as you saw on the chart, replaces our 946 model of mower conditioner. It comes in 400 pounds lighter than the 946, offering a wider range of tractor compatibility and horsepower compatibility. We'll start off talking about the hitch on the C400. You'll notice that we have a drawbar swivel hitch on this particular machine. We've actually extended our offering of the drawbar swivel hitch to the entire line of 0 series mower conditioners except for the S250. This is a big change compared to our previous models that we only offered the 900 series with the drawbar swivel hitch. Aside from a drawbar swivel hitch, you also have the option for an equal angle hitch or a rock shaft swivel hitch, depending on the model of mower conditioner that you choose. As we work our way back from the hitch, we'll look at the tongue, where you'll notice that compared to the 946, our C400 has stolen the design of the 800 series, and we put the drive line on top of the tongue, allowing for much easier access for service and maintenance to the drive line. Moving on to the cutter bar, we haven't changed the cutter bar. It's still the same low profile, proven cutter bar that uses the same modules and same shear hub protection that we've used over the years. One thing we've changed about the cutter bar is a quick change knife system. All 0 series mower conditioners come in base with quick change knives. Bolt-on systems are still an option. However, knives are not interchangeable between quick change systems and bolt-on systems. Quick change knives are retrofittable to some series of mower conditioners. Please see your local John Deere dealer for more information on retrofit compatibility. Okay, to use the quick change knives, all we got to do is move around to the side of the machine here and take the tool off of its mounting position. First remove the pin, and then bring the tool out of its position. And we move back to the front. Once we have the tool, we come in here just below the disc. You'll see this bracket for the knife. Insert the tool, apply pressure to create separation between the disc and the bracket. Grab a hold of the knife, pull it down, comes right out. You got your new knife, put it in, pick it up, make sure that it's in the notch correctly, release the pressure, and there you have it. No longer do you need an impact to change knives. The other thing we've changed about our cutter bar is the warranty. For the 600 and 800 series mower conditioners, we previously had a 3-year warranty, and the 900 series mower conditioners came with a 1-year warranty. Due to the proven reliability and overall performance of this cutter bar, we are extending that warranty to 5 years for the entire lineup of 0 series mower conditioners. That's parts and labor. When it comes to tires, we're now offering a larger flotation tire for the 0 series mower conditioners compared to what we had on the 900 series. Okay, moving from the tire, we'll talk about the forming shields, which you probably notice are significantly different than on this C400 machine compared to what you saw on the 946. We've got full height shields that are fully adjustable by this bolt here without the use of any tools. Okay, moving from the forming shields, we'll actually drop down here behind the machine and talk about the forming vanes. As we look under the machine, you'll see on the swath board here that we have a set of forming vanes bolted to the bottom of it. They look very similar to what we used to offer with the wide swath kit. We didn't previously offer this on the 946. However, with these forming vanes and the 0 series mower conditioners, we're going to be in base on all of the 0 series. And some will actually leave the factory with them already installed. The reason we changed the naming from the wide swath kit to the forming vanes is because we found that with different configurations of these forming vanes, you can really customize your overall windrow appearance. You can take it from a nice narrow windrow that you need for silage operations all the way to spreading it nearly the width of the machine. And so we have a quick reference guide, the same quick reference guide that you're probably familiar with over the years, that really talks about overall machine optimization to create the optimal windrow for your situation.
Justin, my name's Christine Gelly. I work for OSU Extension. I'm the county educator in Noble County, Ohio. And a lot of my work is related to forage quality and management, either for hay or for pasture. So I commonly have conversations with producers about their equipment, the best things to suit their needs, and then troubleshooting things along the way. So I have a few questions for you from that producer aspect related to this piece of machinery. And the first one has to do with operating speed. How fast can you go with this?
Well, it's really going to depend on your crop conditions and your crop type. You know, we say to adjust your ground speed based on those conditions. So we actually have a quick reference guide that will come with the machine that will give you recommendations based on those different crop types and crop conditions.
Okay, so not every forage can operate at max speed for best results. I think that sometimes we lose sight of that. Our more delicate forages, we're going to need to go slower with them to minimize damage, especially leaf shatter when we're talking about legumes or legume grass mixes. And then that leads me into a question about the rollers on this conditioner. Now, as I understand, John Deere offers 4 different types of conditioners, right?
Correct, yes.
So this one here, we have the urethane rollers. What are the other types?
So we also offer an impeller conditioner as well as a V10 steel intermeshing roll and a tri-lobe steel intermeshing roll.
So of those, which one is the most delicate and which is the most intense as far as conditioning power?
Most delicate is going to be the impeller. You're not really crimping or crushing the crop at all. It's really just removing that waxy layer to allow moisture to escape from the crop. And then the most aggressive is going to be the tri-lobe. That's an intermeshing steel roll that crushes the crop rather than crimps it. So you're going to get crush all the way throughout the entire stem of the crop.
Right, and that's what we're trying to get from the use of a conditioner. That's what's going to help us speed up our drying time. So some of the things that may come up in conversation are if folks take a piece of equipment home and they're not seeing that dry time increase, or they're having issues with plugging or leaf shatter, what are some things they can check on the equipment to troubleshoot those issues?
Sure, yeah. So a couple different things. We want to make sure that the gap adjustment is set correctly. It comes from the factory set the where it needs to be, but if machines have traded hands and it's been messed with, it's always a good idea to double check. And the next place to check is the pressure of the rolls themselves, which is going to be under the machine on the cylinder there, and we can show you that one as well.
There's lots of adjustments that we can make to this piece of machinery depending on what type of forage it is that we're harvesting. And something I speak with producers a lot about is cutting height and getting their forages harvested at the right height. 1, to do what's best for plant health, and 2, to reduce getting too much soil material or ash into their hay, because that can cause some issues with animal intake down the road. So when we want to adjust the cutter bar height, How do we adjust the cutter bar, and what do those settings mean?
Absolutely, yeah. So we've got 3 different positions that we're going to adjust the cutter bar at, and that's the gauge shoe that those positions are on. It's around the side of the machine. For position 1, the cut height is going to be anywhere from 0.8 inches to 2.2 inches. Position 2 is going to give you cut height from 0.8 inches to 2.8 inches. And position 3 will give you cut height from 1.5 inches to 3.7 inches. If you need additional cut height, we do have gauge shoe extensions that can be added on to positions 2 or 3 that will give you a range all the way from 0.8 inches to 6.5 inches.
That's really good to know, Justin, because people who are getting into the practice of growing warm season annuals and perennials need that increased cutting height and often don't know that those additional shoes are available to add on to the equipment. Justin, a lot of the people I work with are not going to be operating a 13-foot mower. They may be operating something that's more around 9 feet. As you go down to the smaller models, are all these features we talked about today comparable as they get smaller?
Absolutely. We offer everything we've talked about today on all of the lineup of 0 Series mower conditioners. The only thing that'll change is different hitch availability based on the different sizes, but things like the quick change knives, the forming vanes, and of course all of the adjustments are going to be available for any size of 0 Series mower conditioner.
Great. These are all wonderful answers to have on hand when they come up in conversation, and appreciate you visiting with me today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You'll likely recognize this site as the parking lot at Farm Science Review, but for today, it's our demo hayfield. When the parking lot's not Farm Science Review, this field actually is cut for hay. You'll likely notice that things are looking pretty dry, and that's for good reason. There's not been much rainfall here since the second week of June, when this was cut for its first cutting of the year. It would typically get 2 cuttings, which would have been taken earlier than this week. However, this is simply 1 cutting in the middle of June. So while this stand might not be what we would ideally want to feed livestock, it certainly works as a demonstration site for today.
Hi, I'm Steve Boyles, Beef Extension Specialist at Ohio State University, and we're talking about trailers and transportation with regards to quality assurance of cattle. If you have a long enough trailer, you quite likely will have gates that can separate your trailer into several different sections. And this can be very useful, especially when you're using different classes of livestock. For example, let's say we have cows and calves. You want to separate those different groups of animals because they're likely to get hurt if they are all carried together. So ideally, the big cattle can certainly go over the axle area, but you want them at least in front of the axle. We don't want all our weight behind the axle. That's going to affect the braking ability and the acceleration ability of the truck that is pulling this trailer. So think about the axle location and being forward. So we want to bring those animals in. These could be some of our heaviers, and then we close this gate, and then we bring in other animals. Another useful reason to separate animals is injury. So if an animal is injured, maybe you have a couple or maybe you have one, that animal is more likely to go down, get further injured if it is placed with other healthier animals. So if we have an injured animal, they are the last animal on, and they are the first off. If they're sick but still mobile and go to the packing plant, then they come into the back part and they are unloaded sooner, and so they can go into the packing plant. One of the common things I have seen with some producers is they consider this something like a corral pen. They might load one cow up into the front of this trailer, and then they're going to close this and go back and get another cow. This is not a corral pen. It only has one purpose, is to move animals down the highway. Therefore, you sort your animals in your corral facility. However many cattle you want to go into this particular area, you get them separated out in the corral. You load that group, and the gate is closed. Another reason to think about utilizing these gates, we're talking about moving cattle, but really, once you've got a trailer full of cattle, it's really like a big load of water. So you have to think about pulling away slowly, stopping slowly. Be careful with your turns as well. Think about this being just full of water and how this thing's going to handle. Another reason maybe have these gates, utilize them, is you have a stop. Those animals that are back here are less likely to roll forward, maybe go down and get hurt. So if you ever have a load and the packer lets you know that maybe you have more bruises than that person would like, at least evaluate, are you using those gates? If you're having problems, this is one of the first things, if you're not using them, I would think about utilizing these gates.